I hope that you are doing well. Welcome to Michelle's Inspiration Hour. I'm your host, Michelle, and I'm thrilled to have you join us for a journey filled with positivity and empowerment. In each episode, we aim to infuse your day with a daily dose of inspiration that'll uplift your spirit and ignite your inner strength. Today, we have a remarkable guest with us, Christine Green, a spiritual coach and a beacon of empowerment for women. Through her compassionate listening to her clients' concerns, Christine identified common challenges with self judgment, low self esteem, victim thinking, relationship struggles, and financial worries that often plague women. This realization ignited her passion to pen insightful books like Authentic Spirituality, A Woman's Guide to Living an Empowered Life. Antony of Caring shows her own experiences of inspiring stories and soul musing, finding the sacred in the ordinary. Join us as we dive into Christine Green's wisdom and embark on a journey of self discovery and empowerment. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's bring her on and see how she got inspired and how she continues to inspire women. It's just such a wonderful story. Hello, hello, Christine. How are you?
Michelle, I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Well, I am so excited that for you being here, and again, you said yes, so I'm excited. And I'll ask you at the very end, I'll say, "Are you glad you said yes?" No, we're gonna have a great time. But I do want to open up a question for you that I am, really you are such a spiritual leader, and you care and you give so much of your energy for others. And so you're making such a huge difference. But what I want to know is Christine, what do you want people to think of you? Who are you? We wear several hats, but you're not ever asked, well, who do you want to be remembered by? And who do you feel like you actually are?
Hmm, great question. I'm a seeker. I
Hmm.
teach because I find all the things fascinating and I want to share it with as many people as I can. And I love to see women light up, that they learn something new, they have an insight, or they'll come with a challenge and I'll say, have you thought about this? And they just light up. And so I love being of service. I'm a seeker. Yeah, I'm a seeker.
I love it. Absolutely love it. And I really love how through all the experiences that you've had in your life that you've actually started writing books because a lot of people, tend to write things down in a journal, but they keep it, privately. And you've actually shared yourself with everybody, which is a wonderful thing. Before we talk about the books, I just kind of wanted to have some discussions with you, spiritual discussions. Because I think a lot of people really need this. And I think this is such an important question because really it's different for everybody. And that's why I love it so much. So to you, what is the difference between spirituality and religion?
Uh, Great question, Michelle. Spirituality, I hear a lot of people say, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious.
Right.
And so religion has gotten a bad rap.
Mhm.
Both avenues are avenues to find the divine. Religion tends to be an organized way to get there. And so there are
Right.
rituals, there are writings, there are scriptures to follow. Whatever religion has some kind of their sacred scriptures. So it's an organized way to get there. And there are some people that maybe after growing up a certain faith, maybe something happens, they move away from religion, but there's still that calling. And that's what happened to me. I grew up Catholic. I was Catholic. I received all the sacraments. I went to Catholic school. But then when I left my parents' home, I kind of like moved away from that. And I said, well, what is it for me? What do I believe? And that's what started me on my quest. So spirituality is more of our own inner search, so to speak, that we do on our own.
Absolutely, and I love that, and I loved how it's so interesting that you said that you were a seeker, and then you're talking about, growing up Catholic, and then you thought, "You know what? I wanna seek and see what I actually believe in."
Yeah,
So it all goes together. And what do and I've run into the same thing. I've heard that a lot, and I tend to say that too. And I don't tend to say that, but I tend to say I'm both. I feel like I'm religious, and I also feel like I'm spiritual at the same time. And it's amazing at how many people who are really, really spiritual have had such a difficult time with religion, and I just feel like I want to tell them, you know what, there's so many churches out there. It's like finding a doctor's not for everybody. So what would you
right.
tell somebody that says, you know what, I don't know about religion, I'm fed up, what would you tell them?
So, gosh, for me, it in my seeking, I appreciated I could look back at the Catholicism and say, "Wow, now I understand the ritual. Now I understand why there were certain things. I love the saints. I love Mary. I love Jesus. I love all that." And I don't necessarily follow that prescribed way of getting to God, getting to good. I found a different way. There's no right or wrong way. And so it's to set judgment aside and explore. I always say it's much more powerful to come from a place of curiosity. When we can be curious about something rather than judgmental, it makes it completely changes it. To look at someone and say, "Oh, I that's too strict. I don't like that. I would never go there." That's judgmental. But if you could say,
Right.
"Gosh, I'm curious. Why do you do that?" It changes it completely. And it creates an opening to want to know more, to want to, "Oh, that's interesting. Let's find out more about that."
I love it. And I love what you said that, being grateful for your background and for your religious background, because it to me, I feel the same way. I feel real grounded because of my religious experience growing up.
Yes.
And then as I, like you said, seeked more spirituality, it's almost like it came together. And I've
Yeah.
appreciated everything that I've gone through. Now, a lot of people, again, with religion and spirituality and everything, they become afraid.
Yeah.
So, how do you move from being afraid to becoming faithful or get finding faith, I guess you could say?
Is finding faith. Yes,
Right.
yes. First thing we have to do is identify what it is we're afraid of. So we live in so much fear. We're trained from fear from day one. It's just the way that we are wired and the universe is wired, that when we seem to be on this planet in these bodies and there's things that we're afraid of. So once we can identify what we're afraid of, then we can begin to look at, and there's a process I take my clients through moving from fear to faith, but we examine what is the fear? And then if I didn't have the fear, what would life be like? And then we look at, well, what's the behavior that I engage in when I'm faced with this fear? And so we go through this process to see what is it that I truly desire. And that once we're able to look at that, then we can line up with that. Then we can move in that direction. And by acknowledging what is fearful and what's going on, it empowers us to be able to move forward.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. Let's talk about your services. Because I went to your website and I absolutely love this. I thought, man, she is a woman of all talents because you're a spiritual mentor. You're great, do grief counseling and marriage counseling and sacred workshop. Um, I'm having a hard time reading it because so memorial services, consulting, and
Uh,
facilitating, and also speaker.
yes, yes.
So you offer all these, and I find it, I love it because you offer so many different services for people. Grief counseling and marriage counseling. I mean, that is fabulous. So I know I'm going to ask you this question, but um, and I think so. Looking at this, which one is your baby? You know what I'm saying? There's so many services that you offer, but which one do you absolutely fall in love with? I know you fall in love with all of them, but which
Yeah.
one do you really love?
I think facilitating is the
Okay.
best. I love
Okay.
facilitating retreats and workshops when I'm in that opportunity to bring more awareness or to take people through a process. And when we're in, and that's why I love working with women. When I do women's retreats, we get to be in community together, and
Right.
we get to feed off each other's energy and learn from each other. So someone
Right.
shares and everybody can relate to it. So I think facilitating a group, there's so many ahas, there's wisdom that flows.
And I love
And
that because like you oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just gonna say, like you were saying, it's like a community. You come together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And right after that, the same thing, well, where it starts is with spiritual mentoring. And spiritual mentoring, spiritual coaching, whatever, however you want to call it, is that's working with the individual. And so that's the most important work there is. And then from the individual, you could go either way. When we're in a group, you know that you still have to do your individual work. And when you do your individual work, you know that when you're in a group, it can be enhanced, it can be enlivened.
Oh, and that energy, support energy is awesome, I'm sure. I
Yeah,
love it. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about your books. Okay, so we've got the three books. Okay, and it's so interesting that you wrote a book for a certain reason. So, why don't I'm going to go ahead and say the book, and would you explain why you wrote it and what the inspiration behind it was?
sure.
So, let's look at the authentic spirituality.
Authentic spirituality, I started writing, my clients would come to me and I would give them assignments and we talk about something and they say, "Is there anything I could read about this?" And I would refer all kinds of authors, all kinds of books, but nothing specifically wrote to that topic. They were just there, maybe there was a nugget inside that book. And so one day it was like the light bulb went on, spirit spoke and said, "I think it's time to write these things." And
Wow.
so I just started writing down what I was teaching, and then I saved my case histories with remarkable stories that I watched how women evolved from fear to faith or from not knowing what to do to doing something. And so I changed the names and all of them, but I used those case histories to show how people move through them because that's what we want to know. We want to know, am I the only one going through this?
Right. Oh,
And when we
agree.
find out we're not, it just lightens the
Yeah.
load.
I totally agree. I totally agree because and there you go again with the support. And I think a lot of us tend to shut down because we do think that we're alone. Okay,
Yes.
so then the next book is a caregiver's journal.
So gosh, 11, 12 years ago now, my husband was diagnosed with cancer, and he had a form of blood cancer, and he was on medication, and the medication stopped working, and he started having reactions in his body, and he had to get a bone marrow transplant. Got a bone marrow transplant, and then he it reacted, and he had a series of strokes. So now
Oh,
then he lost all of his abilities and talk, to remember, to move. So he had to go in rehab and go through this all and learn all over again. And
Right.
unfortunately, he couldn't survive. His body was so battered by all of this. But in the process, I wanted to create something that well, let me back up. When I was in the hospital, people would, give me books to read, or I would try to read when I had a minute. And when you're a caregiver, you have no brain cells left. Your brain is
Right.
on one focus, and it's what do I have to do next? What is the next thing happening? And so I realized I couldn't read anything, but I really needed to write down my insights, my emotions. And so I created the caregiver's journal with a little scenario in it of of something I went through, and then asked a guiding question so that the caregiver or the patient could write what their insights were. And it's a
Ah.
way for it's a gift for the caregiver because those nuggets of information that we get, those things that we notice, that little wisdom are so powerful, but we'll forget it in a minute. So it's important to write it down.
Hi, if you are being inspired by this episode, please share with somebody that will also be inspired. We are here to change the world. All right, let's get back to the conversation. Oh, absolutely. And oh my gosh, that is so well needed. Okay, so the Soul Musings.
Soul Musings is my latest book, and I was keeping track of well, I had a journal and then I do a newsletter. And so I was always writing little scenarios of things that I learned. And I had the inspiration to put them all together and create a book, which ended up being a journal. And it's an opportunity to look at how do I find the divine in this situation? And it can be as mundane as going out to lunch with a friend. I have a story about going out to lunch with a friend and noticed what was going on. And there's inspiration behind everything. And so if we can begin to train ourselves to notice that, it makes a big difference.
Oh, absolutely, and that is the one I read.
Yeah.
Okay, so I absolutely loved it, and like you said, it's like a nugget of information and inspiration on a daily basis. So somebody could read, one of the essays and be inspired for the rest of the day and really think about what it's teaching you.
Yes.
And so I'm going to talk about one of the essays. It's called A Picture of Compassion, and I absolutely loved it. And the one story that really kind of drew my attention was that you bought a camera, and this was, before we the digital cameras, where you have to take it to the store and they have to process it and you have to wait like 5 days and then you can go pick it up. That's the little gift of it all. And you being a child taking pictures of trees and flowers, nature, and your dad gets a hold of the pictures and he's furious. And and he said, "Why are you taking pictures? The cameras are supposed to be pictures of people." But that was his belief system, growing up. And you mentioned that he was short on cash and really having to work hard for it and everything else. And to me, there's one thing that also I picked up from that, putting everything together, because, he had such love for you, but it's just the way that he was trying to teach you in your belief system. So I'm going to state this: when we are able to view the past with compassion and forgiveness, we change our experiences from fear based to love.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I absolutely love that.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a powerful memory as
Mhm.
you felt it, you
Oh,
connected with
yes.
it.
Right.
Because when he gave me a camera, he gave me my first camera, and so I was just so excited, and then when he said that, I was so
Yeah.
disappointed, like,
Right.
"But there's so much beauty out there." But he was like, "No, these are for people, not for plants." And and then when digital stuff came out, I would send him my and I still take I have thousands of pictures of flowers,
Right.
of plants and flowers and trees. I just love nature. And
Yes.
I would show him my pictures and he loved them and he
Yeah.
loved them. And
Right.
so,
Right.
but that what I could see in the moment, that was his fear. He was coming from his fears. Like,
Right.
money is tight. We've got to watch this. Let's not be spending it on that because it was expensive back then. You had to
Oh,
buy the
yeah.
film, then you had to process the film, then you had to wait for it in the mail or go to the store and pick it up.
Right.
There was a time you had to wait for it in the mail. And and that was expensive. So
Mhm.
he was just teaching economics, so to speak.
Right. Right.
But I
It
felt love in all of it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And so in each, essay, you have not oh my gosh, I'm just stuttering right here. Affirmation. Okay. It says, I am grateful for the expressions of love that have supported me. And then what we're supposed to be thinking about is identify any past message that no longer serves you. So
Yes.
I love that. So from your point of view, you had to kind of let go of that message and really have the compassion for your dad.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So many of us have those old messages from our parents, and we're still carrying them around. And there's
Right.
still resentment. And I work with clients that remember what their parents told them, and they still resent it. And it was like,
Right.
if we can go back to they didn't know any better, that we grew up, look how the world changes. Oh my goodness. The world
Yeah.
changes so much from when I was growing up. And imagine what our parents were going through. So if we can look at them with compassion, it changes our history and it changes our baggage that we carry. Instead of carrying around that resentment and that feeling block, blocked or ignored or separate, that we really feel compassion and love.
Oh, I love it. And I mean, this book is full of essays. So you can look at how you can take one story and really, I don't want to say dissect it, but really feel into it,
Yeah.
and feel the emotion of what the essay is trying to share with you. Okay, so is there anything that we did not talk about in our conversation that you want to make sure that we bring up?
I think the most important thing in all of this, and you probably do the same thing as being a spiritual advisor, is the most important thing is that we keep working on ourselves, that we observe ourselves every day, that we observe what emotions we have, we observe the circumstances going on and say, well, what am I feeling about this? Am I reacting or responding? And the more awareness I have, I can respond rather than react. When we react, just like we were talking about in the beginning, we tend to act with judgment and there's separation there. And the bottom line is we want to be in a vibration of love. And so the more we can be aware of what am I thinking, what am I feeling, and how can I shift this into love? How can I shift this into love? How can I see this circumstance with compassion? How can I see this person with with appreciation? So by doing that, all of us are on the journey because we're all on the journey. Whatever it may be through a religion, it may be through your own spiritual, it may be whatever, but we're all on the journey.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, that is just Christine, thank you so much for bringing your knowledge and your compassion to the show. Because, again, a lot of people need to hear this for
Yeah,
not only for their journey, but also their healing journey, along the way.
yeah,
Because everything you said, it changes your vibration once you think about this. And it does it. And a lot of people think, oh, I can do this overnight. And no. So it's like anything else, it takes time, and then you can really feel your energy changing, and that's when it's all worth it.
yes. This is a lifelong journey. It's a
Yes.
lifelong
Yes.
journey. There's always something new we're going to be learning, and
Right.
there's no end point. It's like, "What can I learn today?"
Right. Right.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that, and so thank you so much for reminding us of all of these things. Are you ready for the last question?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let's bring it on. All right, I'm going to go ahead and spin it. Let's see. Let's see. The anticipation. Oh, oh no, that one. Okay.
One wish.
One wish. So, what
Oh,
wish would you wish
goodness.
for?
Gosh, one wish. That's a big one.
Yeah.
The automatically what comes up, and it's what we're trained with, is world peace.
Oh,
That's
right.
would be the one wish for all of us, but I
Right.
think the wish is for self-compassion, because when we have compassion for ourselves, that, you know what, every day it's a we are amazing beings. We get up and we get through the day, we get through the world with all the challenges, all the things we're facing. We are amazing. And if we could have self compassion, it enables us to move through whatever we're faced with and to have a presence of love for ourselves. Because how are we going to love everyone else if we can't love ourselves first? So, first of all, we have to start with self compassion, and that will lead us to compassion and empathy for the world. And what we need now in our world that is sometimes unkind and sometimes separate and judgmental is what we need is compassion and empathy for each other.
Right.
That's my
Oh,
wish.
love it. I love it. I wish we had a little genie bottle, and give you more than one wish. Then we could give you what, 3 wishes, and then you could wish for another
There you
wish and so
go.
forth.
There you
Well,
go.
Christine, where can they reach you? Where's
At
the favorite place?
at my website,
Okay.
revchristine.com.
Okay.
Christine.com.
Okay, awesome. All right. So, everybody, thank you so much for listening. And remember, you are not alone in this life's journey. You can find the compassion, the love, the forgiveness, just everything combined and change your energy so much. But a lot of times you have to reach out. Okay. And Christine is like a spiritual coach that can help you do this. But you've got to find somebody who you feel very comfortable with. And sometimes it just takes that little extra support. And we're going to challenge you. You need to learn something on a daily basis, the good, bad, and the ugly. So I wish you well. And again, I hope that you find the inspiration behind each episode. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.